ayayere uyo uko kuno aho pano mamu wanna get it nice.
Right, 23 December 2021, and today I'm joined by Dr. Fedias Mteneri. How are you, doctor?
I'm well, Kabakwe. How are you?
Fantastic, and I would like to say Merry Christmas to you, because I know this is going to be the last time we talk before Christmas.
No, sir, the same goes for you, and thank you very much. You are welcome, and I want to wish a Merry Christmas and obviously a prosperous New Year to all our viewers.
Fantastic, and we've done a great job this year. Me and you, we've really done a lot of analysis over the past few months, and thank you very much, Doc, for taking the time.
No, most definitely, Gambakwe, and I also give it to you that you have come up with quite very topical issues, which we have analyzed, and in our small way, which I'm sure would be so big as people look back, has had an impact on many people. I look at the feedback I get from various listeners all over the world. I will tell you, Gambakwe, I get calls and messages from the United States of America, from Zimbabwe, from South Africa, from Canada, from Ireland even, who comment about our analysis in various ways. And I think I give it to you, and I've always said that this platform, people can underestimate it at their own peril, but it is really shaping the public opinion on various issues. So thank you to you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And let's go straight into the topic. It's quite late, and I want us to keep this below 10 minutes. Did you see the set of tweets or the thread by Professor Jonathan Moyo this morning, and where he made very important announcements?
Yes, Gambakwe, I saw them, and well, you say it would be below 10 minutes, but definitely for me, this is an extension of our discussion that we had on the 18th of May this year, and your viewers can go back to it. And what is happening now, I think it's revealing, especially if they look back at our discussion on that particular day. Your question was, what is Jonathan Moyo's strategy towards 2023? And there is no way we can skip whatever points we raised on that particular day, looking at the tweets that the professor churned out, and we saw them this morning. And I should also go on to say that for him, it is more traditional that at the end of each year, he has to come up with a narrative. And I think tonight's discussion should be interesting looking at that. So I think, to your question, yes, I saw them. I saw the tweets.
Okay. So what Professor Jonathan Moyo has done is he has basically disassociated himself with Nelson Chamisa. Specifically, he's unhappy because of the reaction that he received after he made suggestions on the fundraising for the armored car, $120,000. Do you think Professor Jonathan Moyo is reacting correctly when he pulls out because of the reaction he's getting from the supporters over that issue?
Thank you very much, Kambako, for that question. Very pertinent question. But tonight I am quite very, I'll tell you my mainstream analysis of what he has done. But in Zimbabwe, you cannot again hide away from the behind the scenes kind of things that will be happening, which may just be given a veneer. For instance, right now the veneer is that we think that Professor Jonathan Moyo has dumped Nelson Chamisa, whatever that means. But let me get into my main thinking about this. Professor Jonathan Moyo, as far as we know, and publicly, he is not an MDCA functionary. That's the first thing we should note. Secondly, the MDC Alliance leadership has never announced that Professor Jonathan Moyo is part of us, whether as a functionary, as an advisor, or as an activist within that party. So my initial thoughts would be Professor Jonathan Moyo joined the campaign of the MDC Alliance under Nelson Chamisa by himself, and after getting disappointed by whatever he has encountered there, he has disassociated by himself. So he is a lone ranger who is joining and unjoining by himself, and therefore it shouldn't make any headlines except to his followers on Twitter or to those that he wants to listen to whatever he's saying. So for me, him tweeting that I have disassociated myself. I saw the two letters, one to the SG of the MDCA and the other one to the president. For me, it's a non-event. It's a non-event unless if at one point we were told or he had released letters to say, ladies and gentlemen, I have joined the MDC Alliance campaign and I am running with it. All he did was that on his Twitter, yes, he showed that he was sympathizing with the MDCA. How many of us sympathize with MDCA? He probably is using his, of course, his followership on MDCA to get that sympathy. But there are many sympathizers with the MDCA. So in the end, I would want us to interrogate what are his intentions. And remember, Gambako, I said, this is my initial main argument, that as long as this is the reality of the issue, besides what I think, and which I'm going to tell you that I think there is something in the background anyway, Jonathan Moyo is a non-event today. Jonathan Moyo can only get sympathy from those who think presumptively that Jonathan Moyo would have had an impact in the MDC Alliance campaign. But if we are to judge his impact in any campaign, 2018 did not bring us any change, despite him being in the, using his Twitter handle to sympathize with the MDC. So tonight, whatever discussion we will have, I will tell you that Jonathan Moyo is not part of the MDCA. Jonathan Moyo is a non-event in the MDCA, except for those who overrate him. And Kambakwe, again, just indulge me a little. In our 18th May discussion, I told you, in fact, when you asked me the question, I said, Jonathan Moyo manifests to us in various ways. And I had given you 4 or 5 ways in which we have known him. 1, as an academic. 2, as a politician. 3, as a vulnerable man. And many other views that I gave you in that. And right now, Jonathan Moyo, if we are to go by his tweets, is being that, I don't even want to call him Machiavellian politician, but that inconsistent politician who follows where the wind goes, who is after his own interests, and when his interests are not catered for, he jumps ship. So we have discussed about this, and I even told you that Jonathan Moyo, whatever his strategy for 2023 rather, the MDC Alliance should never trust him. Here is a man in 2008 who, through the sympathy of Morgan Tsvangirai and MDCT at that particular time, did not field a candidate in Cholocho where he was running, because there was an understanding that he should be in parliament and MDC should not dwindle his chances. But no sooner had he won that seat did he start to castigate, to lambast this very party that had given him leeway into parliament. So today's tweets are just that very color of the chameleon that we know. It's the obvious colors of the chameleon that we have known Jonathan Moyo to be, and people should not be surprised. And even those who overrate him should not even put too much of hope and even disappointment in that. The MDC alliance has survived, whether Jonathan Moyo was against it or was for it. It has survived. It has survived its worst attack ever since its formation after the COVID judgment, the COVID constitutional judgment. It has survived. And who is Jonathan Moyo? I've always asked, who is Jonathan Moyo anyway?
Okay, Doc, I'm hearing you, and I'm sure a lot of people in the MDC Alliance agree with you. But I personally know and have been following Professor Jonathan Moyo for a very, very long time. This past year alone, I have made more than 10 videos on Professor Jonathan Moyo and his ideas, where he has made speeches or so. The problem that I see here is that the MDC is yet again not listening. So let me take you to tweet number 13. That is where I want us to start. So let's go to tweet number 13. And Professor Jonathan Moyo, first of all, spoke about the supporters and their fanatical nature and their focus on an individual. So now let's go to this tweet number 13. On the MDCA's priorities, it is common cause that the party is in dire straits. No office, no budget, no party workers, no cars with party logos out there, no visible national party activity. Therefore, basically, no institutional capacity and no administrative support. Do you see how important what he's saying is? We've been saying this every week we talked. Are you agreeing with me that these are not just light issues? These are serious issues.
Look, once again, Jonathan Moyo is like the proverbial goat that gives birth amongst people so that they can chase away the dogs. In Shona, vanoti mbudzi kuzvarira pavanhu kuti hanzi nditandirwe mbwa. He's saying nothing. In fact, we don't even know where he is. And in fact, it's an issue which he should have raised away from the GoFundMe initiative by those people who intended to buy the MDC president an armored car. Now look, what he did was to try and push himself, push his narrative on other people's initiative. Now, what he's trying is that once he got a response from that, he's trying to cry in the public that, yeah, I was trying to say this because MDC does not have an office or whatever. Who told him that they do not have that plan? Okay, I'm not going to speak and say I know that they have an office or not. But obviously, as a political party, ever since their decimation by the constitutional judgment, they've operated. By the way, let me take you into history again. When ZANU-PF operated during the liberation struggle, they did not even have an office in Zimbabwe. They operated from Zambia. They operated from Mozambique. They operated from South Africa. They operated from the one Zimbabwe without offices, without cars. All they had were handouts from the Chinese, from the Russians. Jonathan Moyo, right now, he is at his best, and in this tweet, you show your viewers that he says, I'm reverting back to being a political scientist. You know what political scientists do? They create a narrative. Jonathan Moyo right now is trying to create a narrative in which his sympathizers would think that He is the yesteryear political scientist with all the ideas about how political parties should work in Zimbabwe. No. And it's a no, a no, and a no. Jonathan Moyo is just a loser who is holed up somewhere because he knows that he cannot join his erstwhile comrades. Let the MDC Alliance and its leaders who have been arrested, who have been persecuted, remain in Zimbabwe. The Chamisas that he is talking about, in the past 1 month, we have seen them carrying out meet the people, journeys to Mashingo. We saw them in Mutare, and we saw what happened. They met guns there. They met gun-toting people. They met people who were blocking them and threatening their lives. But here they are, they remain. Those are their offices. The trenches are their offices. The trenches in Mashingo, in Binga, in Matebeleland, those are their offices. What is Jonathan Moyo talking about? That's how struggles are won. In fact, that it is true that he is one of those that did not execute the struggle himself. He claims that he was at Mugagawa and stuff like that. He doesn't know anything about the struggle. Jonathan Moyo needs to be reminded that this is a real struggle. And offices, if he thinks offices are 4 walls like the empty house, he is lost. The offices are found in people's hearts. The offices are found in trenches where these people whose lives are threatened are operating from. Of course, Jonathan Moyo, as a political scientist, let me tell you, political science sometimes can be foolish. But today, let's debunk this professor who has been overrated for a long time. That whatever he is saying is because he thinks his time is running out. Jonathan Moyo obviously wants a change of government in Zimbabwe in which he will find his way back. He has got a home that today he has pinned on his Twitter, which was shot on the night of the coup. Don't you think he wants to come back to that house? He wants to. So he doesn't know the patience. Jonathan Moyo doesn't understand the patience that is needed in a struggle. By the way, the same Jonathan Moyo was in power, and when he was in power and being one of the persecutors of the same MDC, what does he think today? You know, tonight, I honestly do not want my prejudice to take over, because Jonathan Moyo is one of the most ingenuine politicians of our country, and he continues to expose himself. Jonathan Moyo is one of a chameleon of a politician, and today, if everything he has written in his tweet is anything to go by, we can see through him. And all the viewers out there and all those who sympathize with him, thinking that he is the alpha and omega, the best brains of politics in Zimbabwe, today should know what kind of chicanery this gentleman has. At any single, he doesn't know democracy. You know why he is angry? Because he got a backlash after his tweet about the GoFundMe cup. Is because he doesn't know democracy. He doesn't know the multiplicity of voices. People still don't trust him. Why does he think that people should trust him at his word? Who is he? Who told him that he is the god of Zimbabwean politics or of Zimbabwean political science? No, he is not. There are young people of our generation that is coming up who can see through him. So forget about the advice that Jonathan Moyo can give. The people in the trenches will figure out a way to win this struggle.
Okay. So, Doc, I think the point that you've made is very, very clear, and I want us to wrap this up. Let's look at the two sides. in fact, the three sides. There is Chamisa side. There is President Mnangagwa. President Mnangagwa has invited people like Jonathan Moyo to come back home. You remember I talked to Mr. Mandaza here, and he specifically said people like Jonathan Moyo can come back home. And then we have Grace Mugabe and Seveka Sukuere on the other side. So we've got three specific groups. What do you think each side should do? Let's start with President Mnangagwa. Should he invite Jonathan Moyo to come back to ZANU-PF?
Thank you for that very question. And again, Gambagwe, it's a very important question you asked me, and you'll indulge me on this one because as I think through it, I think there is a lot there. Firstly, it is the nature of ZANU-PF, and particularly those who are in power, for instance, President Mnangagwa. The only reason he would invite Jonathan Moyo and the other erstwhile G40, if that is true, remember my presumption is that that is true. The only reason why he will do that is that the political whirlwind locally and regionally is up against him. We know what has happened in Zambia. Obviously, that has induced fear in him. We know, of course, the Malawian situation was, contributes as well. ANC in South Africa is at its lowest, having gotten less than 50% of the vote. Regionally, things are not looking good, but locally, obviously, there is a whirlwind which seeks to take President Mnangagwa out of power. And obviously, we have seen some changes that have occurred within ZANU-PF itself, the political changes, which have brought people like Mutangwa, and unlike a guy who would come back, who would bounce back, and stuff like that. He knows very well that at this moment, he needs the strongest possible human resources around the ZANU-PF machinery. Right. And on the other hand, let me tell you how patronage works. This is exactly how patronage works. And Jonathan Moyo and the others, for their political reasons and individual interests, they are at their weakest. He is at his weakest. That if he is he is thrown a lifeline, a carrot, he will weigh his chances, because I've already told you the gentleman wants to come back in Zimbabwe. So whether he comes or not, we know that it is ZANU-PF a strategy. But the question is whether he is to come or not. Is he safe back home? Whether
yes, Doc, I want to hold you there, Doc. President Mnangagwa.
But you should have let me finish.
No, I want us to touch that point where you're saying, because I want it to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
The invitation that was sent to G40, it was extended to everyone, including people like Mendy Chimene. I don't know if she has already gone back home, who are struggling in Mozambique. People like Professor Jonathan Moyo. They have been fighting President Mnangagwa for a very long time. And I was personally in Zimbabwe after being mentioned in a list of people that are not wanted in Zimbabwe, and nothing happened to me. I can assure you that if they send out that invitation for Jonathan Moyo to come back home, he's going to be safe. He doesn't need to be in exile. He's got no charges right now that they've put upon his head.
That's a very simplistic a way of analyzing it. You, Gambako, even though you were put on a list, it probably was fear-mongering. We are no threat to national security. Jonathan Moyo Jonathan Moyo is the very person in a Politburo meeting who published what at that time, just preceding the coup, what was called the Blue Ocean documentary. Do you know about it? It was it which literally put President Mnangagwa in danger of Mugabe's backlash. He clearly, Jonathan Moyo is wanted. Jonathan Moyo knows that Jonathan Moyo is the very person, even the day before the coup. I remember that I was looking at his tweet in which he produced a goat, a monkey which was climbing on top of a goat and saying, Mungandidi, what will you do to me? Because at that time he was at the top of the power. He is the very person who was saying, Inizete zvangu kuvata. I mean, dissing President Mnangagwa at that time, who was in danger. My point here is that in politics, especially ZANU-PF politics, there's always been these implosions, and you can't run away from them. And I am saying, if Jonathan Moyo was to come, he can come. That's his home. But I'm saying politically and even physically, does he trust that he's safe? Because this is politics. They say it's a dirty game. I think it is not, but it probably has dirty players. Is he safe? He can come for all we care. But what the point, I don't want even to run away, is that the MDC alliance people have always been in Zimbabwe and they've fought those battles against the regime within Zimbabwe. You talk about, you asked about three sides, and you say for Nelson Chamisa, I think Nelson Chamisa, I'm sure you'll give me an opportunity to talk, because I was also looking at his Twitter and there is a lot that we can gain from there. I think it was going to also inform my other opinion of what could be happening behind. Because remember, when I opened, I said, I think something is happening behind. It's only that we can only analyze politics from what we hear from the politicians themselves, not from what we think is happening. But for some reason, I was thinking Jonathan Moyo and his crew probably are trying, but remember, this is now conspiratorial, which I don't believe in. He has realized that ZANU-PF knows what is coming up, and he's trying to dissociate himself with Chamisa as a strategic move. This is, like I said, it's conspiratorial, and I also don't want to believe it. But look, Nelson Chamisa, the very day that Jonathan Moyo is putting out that tweet, Nelson Chamisa, I want to thank you that you are bringing out that tweet. Nelson Chamisa comes out with a very brilliant tweet. I think it's one of the most brilliant tweets which you have to read through and understand what he's saying. And he has got 3 umbrellas with 3 colors, yellow, blue, orange, and he talks about other colors in there. And there is no doubt that Nelson Chamisa's strategy is about to unravel, about to unfold. That is of whatever political party, name, colors, and whatever is going to come up. This is my thinking. And look at him holding umbrellas. The choice of holding umbrellas, when I look at it, it's not just umbrellas. An umbrella is something that covers everybody. It's something that is like a tent. Yeah, it's like he's bringing various. Look here. I am telling you, in politics, we cannot just look at things from face value. Something is brewing. Something is brewing. But one thing I like is that Nelson Chamisa is not concerning himself with what Jonathan Moyo, who is not a known functionary in MDC, is saying or doing. And therefore, putting together the reality and the conspiracy, I think the MDC alliance ran a plan. Vakomana ran a plan. And and let's watch. And I've always told you, Gambakwe, even when we talked about Jonathan Moyo, what we are seeing now, we have said it, and your viewers can go back to 18 May, Gambakwe live. They will see that we discussed this, and the way things are happening is exactly how things are going to happen. By the way, Jonathan Moyo himself put out a tweet about a so-called Freedom Alliance in Matabeleland. And I can assure you that if Jonathan Moyo is a political scientist and a political strategist that he is, let him make sure that the various alliances, the various political parties which make the bulk of political sense in Zimbabwe come together. If he doesn't, if truly he is pulling away from this whirlwind which is coming, then he is the proverbial idiot, and we can never trust him again. But today I can tell you that there is a lot in the background. It will unravel. It's unfortunate that because of the treacherous nature of Zimbabwean politics, these politicians have also realized that they cannot come out in the open with their strategies. They would rather let them unravel or unfold with time, because it's a political minefield in Zimbabwe.
Okay, so Doc, I've heard what you said about Jonathan Moyo, and I also heard what you said about President Mnangagwa. But I think, in my opinion, very soon we will see something happening. If the President Mnangagwa side is very, very smart, they would approach Professor Jonathan Moyo at this point and assure him that he can come home safely and let him come into their structures. I think this is the perfect opportunity for someone like him to be back in the ZANU-PF structures. So I think that is my opinion on that side. Now let's go to the side of Chamisa. You said Chamisa doesn't need Jonathan Moyo. Do you think there's an opportunity for him to approach Professor Moyo and at least seek some forgiveness for all these things that went wrong? Because Chamisa was quiet. you know what is wrong with Chamisa? Let me explain to you. When people are being attacked, who helped Chamisa? He keeps quiet. And Chamisa does not appreciate the guys that helped him in 2018. There are many people who are disgruntled right now. People like Lillian Timvias, they had to leave the party because Chamisa did not stand for them when they were being attacked by the people around Chamisa, especially Wende has caused a lot of problems. You can see that Jonathan Moyo is leaving because of Wende. Don't you think Chamisa should do something here about the situation?
Gambakwe, firstly, the first thing I want to say is that I think to say that President Nelson Chamisa has to apologize to Jonathan Moyo is an insult to that young man who holds the hope of most youths in Zimbabwe. It's an insult. Why do I say it's an insult? Here is a man, Jonathan Moyo, who since 2000 has made it his business to decimate the MDC. And the same people you are talking about, who include Nelson Chamisa, have faced the wrath of ZANU-PF, which was whose spokesperson was Jonathan Moyo, who at any given moment derided them, lambasted them, put them in danger by his own statements. And to say Nelson Chamisa should, 21 years later, when he was in the trenches, apologize to Jonathan Moyo because of his tweet, it's a real insult, not only to Chamisa, an insult to that whole struggle, which has got more than 2 million, if we were to count the people who voted at the last election. It's an insult, and that should never be repeated. That's the first thing I should highlight. Secondly, I think to debunk few things that that you say that Nelson Jonathan Moyo is leaving because of Wende. It's not that. I read all those tweets. Jonathan Moyo he has thrown the baby and the toys out of the pram because the multitudes of the MDC supporters who do not trust him, and I'm sure even some of Arakashi there who just want to make sure that they touch his nerve. They've also been posting. Those people posted, and they showed that they didn't trust what he was saying. If he's a turned Democrat, why doesn't he allow those people to speak? Why is that his only easier way is to say, I'm dumping the people I decided to support by myself? Why is he not saying, I'm calling these people to a dialogue, let them hear my side? Jonathan Moyo cannot be trusted. That's one thing I want to add there. Thirdly, you seem to make Jonathan Moyo an issue within the MDC alliance. Listen to what my thoughts are. It is you in the media who make Jonathan Moyo topical. Like, look here, I think I've said the word Jonathan Moyo more than 40 times because we are talking about him. But honestly, his popularity is overrated. He can come back to ZANU-PF for all he wants, and it's up to him. If he thinks that the issues for which he left Zimbabwe are solved, it's up to him. That's his baby. But look, coming back to the MDC alliance, I think the MDC alliance has gone the right way. It's Jonathan Moyo's issue because it's actually him who should stretch the hand to MDC alliance to bring him into the fold. Because right now there is no doubt that what is needed is unity of all opposition forces. But if Jonathan Moyo is the first one to throw the punch and run away, how much patience does he want the MDC alliance, which has been receiving punches for years and years, for decades, to stretch a hand to him? Right now, we already know that there is the Douglas Monzora element, which by all intents, you can see that for them, it's not about the people, but it's strategizing as to how they can get close to power. For them, it's proximity to power. They are non-entities. So if Jonathan Moyo has really been invited to Zimbabwe and he is on his way to Zimbabwe to join his erstwhile comrades, so what we know is that this tweet is probably a precursor to what would be his final downfall. And okay. I say this.
I hear you, Doc.
Okay.
I hear you, Doc. Let's wrap up the part about Chamisa and Professor Jonathan Moyo. Let's go to the part about Grace Mugabe and Xavier Kasukwe. What should they do with Jonathan Moyo? They obviously disagree on a number of points. Let me explain to you the point. Xavier Kasukwe wants to go back to ZANU-PF. He wants to be back in ZANU-PF. Grace Mugabe wants to take over ZANU-PF. Where should Jonathan Moyo stand?
Those three, anyway, I wouldn't say the three jokers. You know what? As for Grace Mugabe, I don't have any sympathy for her because as a novice, she literally put through that country on a precipice. She is the very reason why this country is where we are today, because she drove the country there when she was close to power. So Grace Mugabe for me is a non-entity, but I'll come back to her. Xavier Kasukwere again, he's just playing around the nerves, the political nerves of the people in Zimbabwe. Why? Because obviously I can't discount the fact that he still wields influence within the G40 element in ZANU-PF, which is still domiciled in Zimbabwe. So when he talks, and he has been very careful, he wants to summon, the support of those who are still sympathetic and who really are angry that, about how Mugabe was removed from power. But then you cannot overestimate that kind of support he has there. Jonathan Moyo, whatever he wants, I've told you, he's a chameleon like that. We all know him. If they choose not to see the chameleon in him, it's up to their own peril. Jonathan Moyo sees where he can survive. Jonathan Moyo sees opportunities for himself, and it's up to them if they want to become a coterie of dumbheads that cannot see that they are just playing a dumb chess game. These are people that, like you asked me, what do you think they should do? These are people who can squander an opportunity to apologize to Zimbabweans about their part in what they have done over the past 40 years, whatever part they can choose, how many years they've been in ZANU-PF, and say to the people who are represented by real opposition MDC Alliance, and say we apologize, and we unconditionally join this struggle and are going to be foot soldiers no matter what the backlash is. But you know what they are doing? They are choosing the easy way out. They are choosing the soft way around ZANU-PF. And no right-thinking Zimbabwean should even pay attention to them. No right-thinking Zimbabwean should even listen to them if they do not humbly even delete these tweets that they have been writing and clearly say, we understand that the MDC, even for what it has been accused of as puppets, as what have you, have stood their ground. By the way, let me tell you, Jonathan Moyo seeks to define something he calls democratic nationalism. He knows that the MDC are social democrats. They go for the philosophy called social democracy. Right now, he's trying to throw in what he calls democratic nationalism. Whatever definition you see his paper in his 25th tweet. This is exactly the kind of chameleon that Jonathan Moyo is. Look at his paper in which he seeks to say these are the values which Zimbabwe should follow, which the very values MDC has forever stood for. So these are dishonest politicians who find themselves out there in the cold and cannot come back because their erstwhile comrades do not, for the lack, I wouldn't want to use the very gory words, but their erstwhile comrades would not even want to see them. They are trying to find ways of coming back. But Gambakwe, let me highlight this, whether it is my conclusion, and say the MDC alliance is the real deal, is the best foot forward as we stand. And anyone who thinks they can contribute to this struggle, they should do like the GoFundMe a gentleman who raised money for the armored car. They must be like the GoFundMe gentlemen and ladies who are raising 2.5 million for the campaign for 2023. And that is what our topic should be. These opportunists like Jonathan Moyo They are trying to just find an opportunity because they think they still have political currency. They don't have any. They don't have any. And I can put my money on that unless Jonathan Moyo and his coterie of G40 humble themselves, apologize to the Zimbabweans for the part they played during their years here, they stand no chance, except that they think, because Jonathan Moyo is a political scientist, he thinks that he has what is called the hypodemic, needle, where he says things and he thinks people just gullibly believe them. No, people don't believe that. The MDC alliance right now is on the rise, and it is geared to take over power in Zimbabwe come 2023.
Okay, Doc, I thank you very much for what you have said today. I know this is a very, very complex topic. And on Saturday, I'm going to be having Senator Kalipani Pugeni for us to look at the bigger picture of what has happened this year and what is going to happen in 2022. This very day last year, I was at the coast. And when I came back, Jonathan Moyo had tweeted about the coup. I think if you go back, you will see. He was a very, very useful spokesperson. I can say he was very, very useful to the MDC in terms of destabilizing ZANU-PF. And I think going forward, things are going to be very difficult for the MDC in terms of getting information, in terms of communicating the weaknesses in ZANU-PF. That is how I feel. But I also want to mention that I really have a lot of respect for President Mnangagwa, the way he has dealt with people that went against him. I think you agree, most of the people that went against President Mnangagwa have not been punished. They've, to a large extent, been allowed to move around freely in Zimbabwe. Look at someone like Godfrey Senengamu. He's moving freely in Zimbabwe despite the 31 July incidents. People like Job Scala, many people in Zimbabwe right now who were against President Mnangagwa, they are starting to appreciate that maybe he's not as bad as they thought. And I wouldn't be surprised. This is my biggest prediction that Jonathan Moyo will eventually find himself back in ZANU-PF, actually helping out the campaign for President Mnangagwa. If what they said, what Mr. Mandaza said to me here, that they are welcome to come back home, is true. Because to me, in the MDC alliance, there is no space for anyone else except those people that are around Chamisa. If you are not Wende, if you are not Ostalos, if you are not Mahere, if you are not those people that are close, even Tendai Biti right now is struggling to become accepted in the MDC alliance. You can see the silence on the car from Tendai Biti, from people like Mahere. They're not really appreciated. People like Chibaya, they're really in charge of the situation there. And that is where the difficulty is for anyone new. Even if there's a coalition, it's difficult to penetrate the core of the MDC and become part of it. They will rather fail than get ideas from anyone else. That is my thought, or these are my thoughts on this situation.
Gabo, I have to hold you there. I think you also have a tendency, I've always told you, you have a tendency of throwing a narrative. For instance, right now, the narrative you are throwing into the fore is that there is no unity in MDC, that the people you see out there probably defending and the MDC are the only ones who are close to Chamisa, and therefore those you do not see per se on the media glare are finding it finding a problem settling in MDC. Honestly, besides that, that is your own narrative. I don't even see where you put Tendai Biti there. Tendai Biti is one of the core leaders of the MDC alliance, and he has stood his ground over time. What we do not, whatever you can bring are conspiracy theories. Mahere is the spokesperson of the MDC alliance. Ostalos is a young person that is coming up, who has been given a leeway to speak, for which I think that is what parties which groom should do. Parties that groom people should do that. But Mahere, on very official issues, she comes to the fore to speak. And look, you do not expect that core of the MDC to just say, Jonathan Moyo has come today, let's put him inside. Remember, this is a party that is aware and wary of the infiltration that has been meted on it. And with key figures who have had to join, you were talking at some time about Lillian Timvias and stuff like that. Those very people who have defected, it simply means that they were not grounded in principle or in the philosophy that they believed, which the MDC stands for. It only shows us that there were moles, there were spooks in there, they had another role. And at the point when MDC was at its weakest, they chose to even put a dagger, in the heart of that party. But it has stood. So don't throw about Timvias and any others who have defected simply and say they do not have space in the MDC. No. Do they have space in ZANU-PF? What have they become there? If not to just weaken the MDC alliance. So look, the way you analyze, sometimes I've got a problem with it when it comes to the MDC alliance and its leader, Nelson Chamisa, for all shown greatest maturity. He has tried to move away from the politics which he was driven to, the politics of that you call of rancor and of violence, and he has chosen to tread the peaceful path in which the people will only show where or who they love. And I think for that he should be commended. He has shied away from inciting violence. He has really shown leadership where there was no leadership. So for me, say whatever you want, I think when leaders show those aspects, they are the ones who are showing you statesmanship. They are showing, in fact, they are creating a culture, because a culture is created over time. How does our leader behave? Does our leader come in front and say, "Kombai Vanutiroy"? He doesn't say that. Does our leader come in front and say, "Hey, the first person to die and get into this mortuary will get a prize"? Look, Chamisa is the real deal. I'll tell you that he represents the young people. He represents this generation. He represents a progressive generation of young people who are not concerned about the folk tales of the liberation struggle, but about how to take Zimbabwe from here into the future. So I totally can say your statements there, Gambakwe, not acceptable.
Okay, so I think that is what Jonathan Moyo means by cultism. Yeah, and you have just demonstrated what most MDC supporters are like. When they look at Chamisa, they think him as an individual can change the situation in Zimbabwe. And I don't believe that is the
I will hold
situation.
you there. I will hold you there. Gambakwe, politics, not only in Zimbabwe, is built around individuals. And I've told you, one day, let's come here. Remember, I told you that my area is public administration. Leaders, there are various types of leaders. Those who are charismatic and stuff like that. He is a charismatic leader. And in America, if you talk of Donald Trump, whether you talk of Joe Biden, go to South Africa, if you talk of Jacob Zuma, you talk of even Ramaphosa, who is there, go to any country. There is no way you can run away from politics and the leaders at that particular time who hold the currency, the political currency, which Chamisa has. Jonathan Moyo has no moral standing to talk about cultism or lack of it in a political party. Since 2000, he was the Joseph Goebbels of Zimbabwe. He was the chief evangelist, if you like, the chief prophet of Robert Mugabe. When Robert Mugabe was at his bottom, when he could have been defeated, and I think Zimbabwe could have had a better future, Jonathan Moyo, through his political science whatsoever, is the one who made sure that he became cultic. ZBC started churning out. I mean, Zimbabweans know about those what you call them, the Hondoe Minda and all that kind of stuff, rubbish that was produced on ZTV every day, every hour. The songs, I mean, I'm losing that word. Jonathan Moyo, he can't talk about cultism today when people support their leader, Nelson Chamisa. What? He wants them to support anybody else? Nelson Chamisa is the emblem today of that struggle within that party. When another leader's time comes, they will do the same. Jonathan Moyo, like I told you, he is trying to create a narrative, a political science narrative, which does not sit well with all of us. And whether he would be successful, good luck to him. Nelson Chamisa, yes, remains the current leader of that party, and any leader of any political party would be praised or would be probed up by their followers, except if people don't want that to happen, and then you media people will come and say Nelson Chamisa is not supported. It's not cultism, it's the nature of politics. The present leader, the current leader, is the one that people have to prop up, that people have to support, that people even have to create songs for. It's not a Zimbabwean phenomenon alone. It's everywhere. In America, they sing songs about Joe Biden. In the United States of America, in Britain, they sing songs about Boris Johnson. It's not a Zimbabwean issue. So what is he talking about cultism? Let him show me a country where there is no leader who is respected, and I will show him how just an academic, political scientist he is without the reality. I thought he should know better.
Okay, Doc. I know you are very passionate about Chamisa.
There you are starting.
What I want to do, Doc, is I want you to understand where we are now and where we are coming from. And I think we've talked enough for today. Let's push this to next week. Let's see how Chamisa is going to respond. Because personally, I've made my opinions known about Chamisa and his strategies. And I think many people are coming around to my way of thinking. Many people think it, but they don't want to say it. But time is moving, and many people are coming out. I believe that we're going to see quite a number of people. People like Tendai Biti, I can feel that they're boiling. Where they're sitting right now, they just don't feel right about what's happening in the MDC. If you see Tendai Biti this quiet, Mahere this quiet, Scala this quiet.
What I saying, Tendai Biti, on the 9th of December, he gave a wide-ranging analysis of Ntuli Ngube's budget statement. And it was, as usual, I mean, Tendai Biti is axiomatic with his deep analysis of issues. What are you talking about? It's you know what? There is a difference between just saying anything every day and saying thoughtful things when they are necessary. I mean, stop it, Gambakwe.
Thank you very much, Doc. And
all right,
I really appreciate you coming here. And we'll be back, as I said, next week I'm going to be traveling, so we might have to do it a different way. But I really want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and let's see how this develops. Let's see how Chamisa responds, because this is a turning point for me. When I look at this, it's a turning point, very important event.
No, thank you very much, Gambakwe. Definitely, it's a turning point, and I think today, Gambakwe, thank you actually for inviting us to have this conversation. It really is going to show us where we are going. But like I tell you, that the wind of change, I think, is blowing. It's not only in Zimbabwe, but it is blowing across Southern Africa. And yes, I wish you safe travel where you are going. And my hope is that when you are back, we'll see each other. We'll have these conversations, brilliant conversations. We are getting into 2022. We are just only 17 months or so away from the next election. And with your energy, I pray for a lot of energy. You know, sometimes, Gambako, let me commend you. The way in which you churn out your news articles is amazing. It's quite amazing. And that energy for me shows something about you as a person, that, there's that passion, there's that zeal for the betterment of our country. And Merry Christmas to you, and a very prosperous 2022 as we start new conversations about the next election.
Thank you very much, Doc. And you know why I'm laughing?
Yeah.
When you talk of energy,
yeah,
I made 200 videos for Chamisa in the 2018 election. And it makes me laugh what I even saw in Chamisa.
Okay. Don't start something. We are at the 1 hour point right now. And I know where this is going to tend to, but like I said, I think if I had my way, one day I will have you to, I would, if it was in my power, I would have you meet President Chamisa and you two sit, and then I hear your story.
I've got Chamisa's number now. I could call him if I want, but I never called Chamisa before. And I really thank myself for that.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. The time shall come.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks very much, Doc, and good night to everybody.
Cheers, Gambako. Good night.
Uyo, uko, kuno, abo.